Welcome to Conrad in the Making. This is going to be my first book review right here. It's going to be great. How the video is going to go is I'm going to try and get through a book I've recently read while my dogs harass me and my camera equipment. So it'll be fun. The book today is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Colonel Chris Hadfield. It's a dandy. Let's get into it. This is Conrad in the Making. First off, story of how I got the book. So I searched on thriftbooks.com because you can get a lot of books for fairly cheap over some books I wanted to read. This one I saw was $4. Okay, so one, I was already happy about it. And are you chewing on a Lego? Hey. You're good. Okay. So I got it for $4. It came in the mail, and I opened it up, and I was looking through it just before examining it. And look at this. It's signed, autographed by Colonel Chris Hadfield himself, and it's not a picture of it either. It's actual signs. I looked up books that have the same page, and they're all different. So that already was a huge boost. So Mr. Chris, thank you, sir, for signing it already. Anywho, I read it. It's incredible. I mean, the guy is... Astronauts in general are really competitive people, and he even says it so himself, but he's so down to earth and everything. I guess that's why I wrote the book, and I know what you're thinking. Conrad, did you dig out your NASA pullover with the rainbows on it from the dirty laundry just to make a 4-minute video about a book review? You better believe I did. We go hard here on Conrad in the Making. So a little bit about Chris Hadfield. He is the first Canadian astronaut to do a spacewalk for one. He's been multiple Capcom operators on 25 shuttle missions. He's been a director. Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving. Go over there. He's been the director of robotics for NASA. He was a former test pilot, graduated at the top of his class in Air Force. Ultimately just a guy of huge dreams, and he accomplished them. And so that's why I really wanted to read the book to see what he had to say about it, and I wasn't disappointed. So the book he did is a memoir. It's nonfiction. It tells of his space shuttle missions, his 2 trips to the ISS, or I think 1 trip to the ISS. And it just talks about, you know, what he went through, what he experienced, the science he did on the trip. But what I loved about it is that he gave a good depiction of not only what he went through, but also his advice of how he went about his daily life, how he carried himself on Earth to get himself into the position to be an astronaut, because it's an incredibly competitive process. So he gave a ton of advice just for people on how to be successful, really, about how to sweat the small things, he said, how to be a +1 person, not one that always shows out on everything, but one that's willing to learn, and the value of being a follower. So the style of his writing, it's incredibly easy to read. He does a lot of science in it, but it's not overwhelming. I was kind of surprised, really, because he says this even in the book, that his writing needed some work. You know, he's a test pilot for NASA. Or for the Air Force. You know, he's an astronaut, very to the point, very, you know, straight down. And so it reads really well. He did an awesome job with writing it, and it flowed really easy for me. So the length of the book, it's fairly long, not too terrible. It's just under 300 pages. He gives a lot of information in that amount of time, so it goes by very well. It's not too short. It's, yeah, just what I said earlier. It's really easy to read, really easy to get into and keep up with over a long amount of time. My favorite part, the content. It was awesome. He gave good advice. He dove into the science about his expeditions, you know, what he did. And it wasn't overwhelming. He's a funny guy. He's humorous, you know. He talked about the challenges of being an astronaut with his family, with his work, the issues he went through medical-wise. And so he ultimately did an awesome job explaining all of it. Takeaways. It was an awesome book. I would highly recommend it. The only problem I had with it, which is just minor, there's nothing wrong with the book. But at the very end, he briefly describes about how we as humans have been kind of poor stewards of Earth, and how from the space station he can look down and just see the things that humans have caused to the Earth, the differences in the environment and nature in general. And he only includes it in a small little piece of a chapter. I wish he would have kind of dove into more of it, and so that was my only thing I took away from it. But ultimately, it's an awesome book. I will not forget it. It will be on my bookshelf permanently. So it was awesome. I have so much respect for Chris and the astronauts he went with and the work he does every day, because a lot of people don't know anything about what they do, and they just think they fly up to space for fun, but they are performing experiments and things up there that have direct implications for our life on Earth, and that's what he wanted to show, and what I think he did really successfully. Ultimate review, 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was awesome. Highly recommend. Get it, read it, be inspired. It was great. If you liked this review, if you connected with it, put something in the comments. I'd like to hear what you're reading, if you've read this, what I should be reading. Follow me on Goodreads if any of you guys have it. Yeah, and that's it. I thought this was awesome. There's more reviews to come. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the dogs and everything. But yeah, this is Connor in the making. Stay strong, keep the community, guys. I'll see you in the next one.